Hey, welcome back. Today we're doing resistance training. So I'm going to give a lengthy explanation for the exercises for this first video, but then after you understand the concepts of how to engage your core, how to brace and move well, you won't need as lengthy explanations. So for this first one, you can do the exercises with me while I'm explaining them, or you can just watch if you have the time and then do them after. But just know that on the next few, it won't require as much explanation. I can just show you the exercises, you can get right to them and save time. So if you end up going just a little bit over 30 minutes today, that might be required as a result of these lengthy explanations, but it's gonna be really important so that you're using the right muscles in your body. Okay, so let's get started. So we're gonna be using a few props. If you don't have all this stuff, you can kind of make do without, but I'd recommend having this stuff in your yoga / training equipment prop area. So I have the ball here, I have the bands, and this is just on any band set. They usually come with a little door jammer, and then a block. And also I have this fancy stick mobility stick that bends a little, but you can make do with just your Swiffer stick, a broomstick, whatever you got at home. So we're gonna get started with a little bit of warm up. Good idea to warm up the big muscles in your body before we get into the strength training. So let's just start by drawing the knees up one leg at a time to start to warm up our hips. And feel your breath moving in and out through your nose. Focus on your breath going all the way down to your belly. And then, like there's a tripwire right here, we're gonna step up and over it, and then go side to side. So you're starting to get some rotation in your hip while you're adding flexion. And then we're gonna duck under that imaginary tripwire and go side to side. And then you can use the support of a wall for this one, but not necessary. But we're gonna do leg swings. If you don't use a wall, then you'll be working on your balance. But if the balance is shaky without the wall, then you can use the wall. And then turn so that you're swinging front to back. Be careful not to kick the plant. And change legs. And front to back. Now I'm messing this plan up. And then let's get the upper body going. So we'll just start by warming up the shoulders. So exhale to draw in. Inhale to open up. And then circles with your shoulders. So rolling from the elbows inward, outward. Take your arms out to the side, internally and externally rotate. And of course these movements are quicker because they're a warm up. Then with the arms internally rotated, make circles. With the arms externally rotated, make circles. And then with your elbows like cactus, we'll just do cactus reaches. pretend like you're pulling a band from the ceiling and squeeze the muscles in your back as you pull back. But try not to let your ribs push forward too much to get that squeeze. So you're keeping your core engaged, like we learned in breath day, which is coming tomorrow. No, we've already learned some good tricks to keep your core engaged, but tomorrow we're gonna go over using the breath to help with it. And then arms stretching forward and back. This is gonna help with our pulling and pushing movement that we do. Now when I do this, there's gonna be the tendency, again, to push from my belly and my body. Instead, I keep my core braced and I practice driving my elbows back and then reaching forward. And then we'll drive back and out to the sides. And then we're gonna tip over, not halfway, but half of the way. That's a quarter. And then we're gonna take the arms and make circles. So this one will warm up the back of the shoulder by getting this little angle. All right, and then if you really want to get super warm, you could do 20 jumping jacks right now, but I'll leave that up to you. If you want to bust out the jumping jacks, you can bust out a few. Up to you. But next, we're gonna get the hair out of our mouth, and then we'll go for some ball pull-ins. So this is one of my favorite exercises. I think I'm gonna be okay in the shot right here with this. One of my favorite exercises to warm up the back body. And this is a great way to start your routine because you're warming up the major muscles in the legs, it's heating up the body, and then it's cueing the muscles in your back and your shoulders to wake up. So start by driving your upper arms down into the ground. And then when you do this exercise, as you drive down into the ground, you want to feel the muscles in your back contract. Now to do that, I'm trying to consciously keep my rib cage hugged in and down so that the transverse abdominis is engaged as I work these muscles in my back. I'll show you the difference. I could also just push like this, and then notice how I'm just crunching from here. I'm not using the transverse anymore. So instead, I knit, hug, squeeze the side ribs in and down without straining my neck, jaw, shoulders, and then I drive these muscles so that the backs of my shoulders turn on. From there, we're gonna pike up and hold, and we're just gonna hold this for 10 seconds to get the intention of which muscles to work. So you feel the backs of the legs turned on, you feel the transverse turned on, and then you drive down through the shoulders, upper arms and elbows. The neck is in neutral, so I'm not flattening the neck and I'm not tipping the chin up. From there, I stretch the arms down, pull the ball in, consciously maintaining the tension in my core and in my upper body, and then I drive the hips up, squeezing the backs of the legs and the glutes. From there, I control the ball back out and lower back down. One more time, I'll show you the technique. So I come to the starting position here, squeeze, feel the transverse wake up, muscles in the back turn on. Then I pull the ball in and drive the hips up to the ceiling. As I exhale, I let it out. Last one in demonstration. Exhale to lift up, pull in, lift up a little higher, and I'm sorry I messed up the breath. As you inhale, let it out. Okay, so you're gonna work up to doing 10 to 12 to eventually 15 of those if possible. And we're gonna do a superset with that. So the first one, the first part of the set, you're gonna do 10 to 12 to 15 perhaps of those. And then after you finish that, you're gonna stand up and practice your squat movement. So when we squat, there has to be a certain amount of dorsiflexion, ankle mobility, that's gonna come from doing warrior one. So the better you get at your warrior one, keeping your back heel grounded as you stretch into the lunge, the deeper your squat will get. And we're gonna work on some other exercises to specifically work on our ankle dorsiflexion. But the squat is an important movement. So with the feet about shoulder distance apart, the big toes turned out just slightly, I'm gonna pretend like there's a chair behind me or my balls behind me to sit onto. And then with my hands at the wall, I'm just going to slide my buttock or slide back and sit onto the imaginary chair. Now the tendency will be for the upper body to want to collapse, to go to sit back. So the hands at the wall are just going to train that movement so that my thoracic spine stays active. So here we're calling on our hip mobility, ankle mobility, and also our thoracic mobility. And then I drive through my legs to come up. So it's a very functional movement. It reveals to you really the health of the whole body and how your yoga practice is going, if this pose is going well. Exercise, not pose. Okay, so I sit back. I make sure that the weight is right in my midfoot. I'm not in my toes. I'm not all the way back in my heels, but it's right here in the front of the ankle. Toes are spread. I push into the feet, and then to come back up, I'm gonna feel my outer hips and my glutes drive me back up. And then there's a little squeeze of the back of the leg to help me stand tall. If you remember hip flexion day, where that's actually coming in 2 days. We're gonna work on that. We'll perfect that movement. As you inhale, you'll slowly sit back. And as you exhale, stand up tall. Inhale to sit back. Exhale to stand up tall. So we'll work that movement for 15 rounds. So it'll be 10 to 15 on the ball. Then you'll stand up, take a breather, and then bust out 15 of these at the wall. Make sure that as you inhale, you'll lower slow for 3 counts. Pause, feel the muscles engage in the backs of your legs and your glutes, and then press through your feet to stand up tall. Pull up through a hair on the crown of your head. Reach to your hips straight down into your feet. And then we'll take a breather after that, if you work the legs a little bit. The next movement that we're gonna practice is for the upper body. And we're gonna do a set of push-ups, and then a set of pulling. So it looks like this. To train this movement, you're going to start on your hands and your knees. You'll have the block right in front of you at the medium height. Now what this is going to do is it's going to train your posture as you go to lower down. So on my hands and my knees, I rock forward, the shoulders come over the wrists, and then from there, instead of bending the elbows straight into the body, like a chaturanga push-up, I let the elbows go out to the side of it. And I just lower the chest down onto the block. Now once I'm on the block, I want to feel a couple of things. One, that I'm not collapsed, that my head is up in the line of the shoulders. So I have the mountain pose line from my hips to the shoulders to the ears. The transverse is braced. The collarbones are broad. My shoulders aren't sinking onto the chest at all. From there, I engage the glutes. I squeeze the transverse like we practiced. The side ribs hug in and down. And then I push into the hands and drive myself up. So if you do that movement really well, you should feel a lot of full body activation to lift yourself up. Now, once you perfect on the medium block, being able to keep the shoulders in good position, fire the core, and drive up, then you might be able to lower to the flat block. But this requires more range of motion through the shoulder. So if you feel like you aren't able to get everything to open up and everything to engage, you just stay on the medium block. So you're going to work your way up to doing 15 of these until you feel yourself fatigue. After that, the next movement is pulling with the band in the door. So we went to the door so that you'd be able to see this. So you'll take your attachment that goes into the door jamb, slide it in like so. And then stand with a little bend in your knees. So you want this to be right below chest level, and you want it to feel like it's a good amount of tension, but not so much to where you aren't able to drive the elbows fully back, like they're pressed against the wall or the ground, like at the beginning. Scoot over this way a little bit. Okay. So I have the little bend in the knees, and then I make sure that I don't push my ribs out in order to squeeze back. I hold the contraction, and then slowly let it go. Exhale to contract, hold the contraction, And as I inhale, I slowly let it go. And with these, you want to do 10 to 12 and find the band that feels like it's a good amount of resistance. So for our very last set, we're going to do a little bit of biceps and triceps. So for the triceps, that's easy. You can just angle your body and then press into the band like so. Contracting, making sure you have good posture, rib cage is in, shoulders are open, and then let it back out. Squeeze, slowly release. And then for biceps, you'll just stand on your band. Make sure that it's not too much slack. If I use the handles for mine, it's a little too much slack. Control the curl in and then let it out. Make sure you let the arms fully straighten before you go to pull back in. And then the third exercise in this set is really important for our external rotators. So you're going to take the strap at above head height. And we're going to do the face pull, which is one of the most important exercise for yogis, in addition to just the pulling that we did, because there isn't much pulling that you do. It's a lot of pushing in yoga. So we want to balance out the muscles to keep the back of the shoulder strong and healthy. This is what holds your shoulder back so that you don't get this type of posture. The better you get at this movement, being able to pull your arm and drive the elbow behind the body and externally rotate, the healthier your shoulders, your chest, your posture, your neck will get as a result. So we're purposely building strength in the back to open up the tension in the front. So for this, you don't want to compensate from the ribs. You don't want the upper traps to do the work. So as you exhale, you'll drive the elbows back and then pull the wrists back like you're trying to drive your thumbs back behind you into the wall. And then as you inhale, you'll slowly take your arms all the way out. And you just pull it like you're going to drive it towards your nose, as if you could pull these in line with the nose back behind you. Feel the backs of the shoulders squeeze, and then you'll slowly control it out. Okay, so just to go over the sets again. So the arms, that's the third set. The pushing for the push-ups and the pulling, that's the second set. Back to the first set, that was doing the ball and the squats. For your very final movement, we're going to train the hip hinge through the deadlift. So this will be your fourth set. I went in reverse, now I'm going back. It'll make more sense at the end. So we're going to hold the stick behind the back and have it against the tail, where you found the middle of the tailbone on neutral day on the ground, and for your head. Then with your knees bent, I want you to just tip yourself over and then drive through your feet and come back up to stand. So you'll practice doing 10 of those. For 2 times, on the second one, you'll change the hand position. And then when you come up, you'll squeeze the glutes, engage the backs of the legs to help to bring the pelvis forward over the ankles. All right, so just to recap everything one last time, start with the ball, 10 to 15. Take a little breather. Do your squats. Take a little breather, and then do the whole thing over again. 2 rounds of your first superset. For your second superset, pushing, push up, take a little breather, then pull to failure to where you feel like, oh, I can't do another one without good posture. Take a little breather, do it again. 2 sets, superset of pushing and pulling. Then it'll be your triceps and your biceps along with your face pulls. 2 sets of those. Take a little breather, about a minute in between. And then for your very last, you just practice the hip hinge 1 or 2 times. I recommend doing it 2 times just to get the feeling of what it's like to move through the hip hinge. It should take you about 30 minutes. So let me know how it goes. If you have any questions, just drop them below.